Good morning, everyone. And this is the AOD Continuum of Use Part 1. I am going to make this kind of a two-parter just because there is a lot of information and I don't want it to be too lengthy, but I do want to make sure I cover the important objectives. So again, for any of you that do not remember, AOD stands for alcohol and other drugs. Now, before I dive in the continuum into what it is, I want to show you what it kind of looks like. Okay, so it actually starts with experimental. And as you can tell, there are 5 different stages. So we're ultimately going to be moving from experimental use to addiction or dependency. And after experimental, we're going to move to social, and then misuse, and then abuse. And we're going to really discuss the difference between these two and these two. Okay, so sometimes people tend to think that misuse and abuse are kind of the same thing, but there are some major differences that we're going to cover. But kind of diving in, when you think about experimental, okay, this is exactly what it sounds like. Experimentation, curiosity, trying new things. Oops, sorry. So this is the phase where a person begins to explore the world of psychoactive substances. Again, they might just be interested in trying something. You know, I like to compare this to the vapes because that seems to be a very hot topic right now. Think about why youth are using vapes and, you know, what is the interest? What is kind of drawing the youth in? Is it the flavors? Is it the different types of devices, the mods, the clouds that you can create? And again, it could be just, you know, having a hit, a puff. It could be someone just passing it to you in the bathroom. Hey, try this. This is a good flavor. All right. Either way, it's the stage of experimentation. So you are not any longer in the no use category, but you are experimenting, you are trying. I like this little illustration that I came across earlier today. It starts with no use. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. That's kind of where we were. And then we moved to experimental, so trying. Okay, so you know, like this person says, I've tried substances 1 to 2 times because I was curious. I may not do it again. I may do it again, but right now, you know, I'm not so sure. I've tried it, but I'm not necessarily using. Our next stage is social use. And, you know, this is kind of set up similar to my PowerPoint presentation, but again, I just like the graphics. I like how it shows the arrows and it gives you an easier visual to kind of follow rather than just a PowerPoint. But like it says here, okay, I use substances every so often with friends, usually after school or on weekends. So at this point, if someone is a social user, they're probably using to enhance an experience. So, for example, if you think about music festivals, if you think about concerts, okay, and what types of substances you might see at these. A social user might participate in something if it's there, if it's in the environment. You know, if they see a group of people trying something, or I shouldn't say trying, if they see a group of people, let's say drinking beer or, you know, passing a marijuana joint around, they might partake just because it's there, just because it's the atmosphere. You know, at this stage or in this environment, people might say things like, Oh, come on, just have a drink, it'll loosen you up. Oh, come on, just hit it once, you will relax. It will calm you, okay? Moving on from the social, like right here, okay, I call this stage misuse, okay? It says regular use, but kind of bouncing back and forth here to my PowerPoint. So we're not at an actual diagnosis. This is not a diagnosed disease like addiction, but a problematic pattern of drug use. So once this pattern is established, a person may begin to feel changes. So at this point, this person is no longer just participating because it's there, because everybody's having a good time, just because it's the environment. No, they're actually probably seeking out those opportunities. So it's not just a situation where they're like, oh, this is an opportunity. This is what's going on. People are having fun. It's, okay, when's this going to happen next? Oh, heck, okay, you know, what are these people doing this weekend? I use substances daily. My use isn't getting in the way of school, work, family, or friendships. This is kind of, I would say a little bit beyond the misuse. Okay, this person's admitting to using substances daily. We're kind of moving into the abuse stage here. Drug abuse is when it tends to start getting in the way of things, okay? You might stop showing up to practice. You might stop caring about that science grade, okay? One thing I do want to point out is that from here, okay, because now we're all the way over here, typically this person's friend group is going to become smaller. That's very typical, because as you move through the continuum, you're going to find friends kind of drop off, okay, because there's going to be people that aren't really interested in what you're trying, aren't really interested in those types of crowds, okay? And typically, I'm not saying always, but usually the friend group will start to see it become smaller and smaller and smaller until a person ultimately feels kind of isolated because of their dependency. So I'm going to take a quick break and we're going to come back to part 2. I know we left off in kind of the abuse section down here, but go ahead and check out my continuum of use video, part 2, and we will resume from there. Thank you.